Okay, well, welcome to the 2020 Counselor Getaway for Salve Regina University, our staycation edition. Certainly, this is a different way for us to be communicating with the counselor community than we are used to. In an ideal world, we would be having you on the back lawn of our amazing campus looking over the Atlantic Ocean and the famed Newport Cliff Walk, hopefully with a lovely beverage in hand and enjoying each other's company. But obviously, given the state of the world as it is, that was not possible this year. And so this was our next best option to hopefully provide folks an insight into the university and begin to answer some of your questions. This is obviously being recorded for posterity, so if you miss anything, you're going to be able to go back later and take a look, or if you want to share with other colleagues or members of your staff, certainly feel free to do so. There's also, I ask, if you want to communicate and you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to use the chat box. And I'll be looking forward to answering all of your questions about the university. Also in the background is Santi Durango, one of our admissions counselors, also coordinator of multicultural recruitment here at Salve Regina University. So he'll be helping me throughout the course of the presentation, answering a few questions through the chat box if you have something while the presentation is going. For those that don't know me, my name is Jim Fowler. I'm Vice President for Enrollment Management here at Salve. Been here now starting my fifth or sixth cycle. I don't know. Math was never my strong suit. I was an English theater major as an undergraduate. So, but very, very happy to have this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about the university and a little bit about who we are, what makes us different, and also give you a brief overview of what types of students that we're looking for and what that admissions process might look like for them. I'll start just by doing the seemingly required self-promotion of saying that if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, my handle is @SalveAdmitGuy. I don't really do much on Instagram yet. I'm an old man and I'm having a hard time getting used to that platform, but I am on Twitter with lots of other crotchety people yelling and screaming all the time. So you can find me there pretty regularly talking about Salve, talking about higher ed in general, as well as my musings on soccer and music and other things that I tend to have an interest in. So as we get started and as more people come on in to the presentation, I'd like to start our discussion today from the real anchor and the cornerstone that is Salve, and that is our mission. When we talk about Salve Regina University, we are always centering all of our conversation, all of our decision making, all of our planning and our experiences for our students and our community on our mission statement. And you certainly can go to our website and read our mission statement. It's very nice, and it speaks to a number of different themes. Most importantly, it speaks to the idea of stewardship, that we believe that as global citizens of this little blue ball in this great universe that we exist in, that we have a responsibility as citizens of that little blue ball to maintain it and keep it safe for future generations. Idea of service, that we are committed to using the privilege that we have of receiving higher education and receiving a very specialized experience to go out and help the world and to help others. The concept of leadership, that we also, through that privilege, have a responsibility to take our knowledge and to help raise others up. And when we talk about leadership at Salve, we typically aren't necessarily talking about hierarchical leadership, though that's part of it. We certainly have a number of graduates that are in government. We have a number of graduates that run corporations or CEOs or presidents of organizations. But we're more talking about day-to-day leadership, the opportunity that we all have to impact our communities and our society to make it a better place. place. And so regardless of whether our graduate is a brand new graduate starting their job for the first time, or someone that has been out in the workforce or out in public service for many, many years and is in a hierarchical leadership position, we want all of our graduates to understand that they have an opportunity to provide leadership through their really how they handle themselves and how they interact with their communities on a day-to-day basis. And then last but certainly not least is this idea of mercy. Salve Regina University is a Catholic university, if you didn't figure that out from our name, founded by the Sisters of Mercy. And the Sisters of Mercy are a really terrific order. The founding of the order traces back to Ireland, and a wonderful woman by the name of Catherine Macaulay, who was a privileged individual who decided to take her dollars and really support good works for the community. And she founded this order called the Sisters of Mercy that became known as the Walking Nuns of Dublin, in part because they didn't cloister themselves behind the walls. They actually went out and did good works. And so when we think about Salve Regina University and we think about this idea of mercy, what we're talking about is not necessarily the connotation that we most often think about charity, though certainly charity is part of it, but it's more of the obligation that we have to not just talk about problems, but to go out and do something about problems. And so when we're talking about mercy, we're talking about the obligation that we all have to work for a world that is harmonious, just, and merciful. And so all of our graduates, while they may not have the entire mission statement memorized, 201, they will be able to articulate that phrase because that is the charge of Salve Regina University graduates. In addition to our mission statement, we also have a vision statement here, and I do want to read that to you because I think it really clearly articulates who we are and what we're trying to do as we evolve as an institution. What it says is that the world desperately needs a new kind of leadership, one predicated on the willingness of leaders to turn empathy into action, to walk with others through the challenges of our world, and to empower others. Mercy captures these characteristics of leadership. As a premier mercy institution, Salve Regina University offers an education that is built on the power of mercy to change the world. We challenge ourselves to achieve academic excellence through disciplined development of skills and knowledge, and to cultivate the spirit of mercy within ourselves, to see, to care, and to act for the good of others. And so this is a statement that we came up with a couple of years ago as we were doing our strategic planning process that serves as a marker for us in our evolution as an institution. I know that there's a wide variety of attendees on this presentation. Some of you have known Salve Regina University for years. Some of you, this may be your first exposure to us. But when you look at our history, the institution has gone through quite a bit of an evolution, starting initially as a women's college, small women's college focused on nursing and education, growing to a university and eventually becoming a co-educational institution in the 80s. But I often say that, as I look at Salve Regina University and evolution over time, I'll be entirely blunt. When I graduated from high school, I graduated from a Catholic high school in central Connecticut, a few decades ago now. And when I was looking at colleges and universities as a top student from that school, I'll be honest, I would not have looked at Salve at that time. The reputation just wasn't there. The academic rigor just wasn't there. That isn't true of the university today. This institution has evolved considerably in the last 30 years and really has become a very rigorous and focused academic environment where even your top students are going to come, they're going to find themselves to be challenged, they're going to find themselves to be inspired and receive a lot of great mentorship and support to ultimately achieve their personal and academic goals and go out and do the things that they want to do. And we can see that articulated through things like a dramatic increase in retention and graduation rates, particularly over the last 5 years. So, we retain on average about 85% of our freshmen and sophomores, and that rate continues to improve. Similarly, our graduation rate has continued to improve, and this, this most recent 6-year cohort with a graduation rate of 80%. So our students are coming, they're persisting, they're graduating, and they're going out and being successful leaders in today's world. Now, if we were in a session, I would ask you how many of you had heard of Salve Regina University, because someone said, oh gosh, Salve Regina University has the most beautiful campus and the most amazing location. And I'll be honest, that's really a reputational aspect of the university that a lot of people know us for. But in reality, that is not what makes Salve Salve. To me, what really makes Salve is what happens in these incredible historic buildings. You can see my office that we populate, and we have really some amazing resources here for students. Things like the Pell Center for International Relations and Public Policy. The Pell Center, named for the late Senator Claiborne Pell, who you may know behind Pell Grants, or the Pell Bridge that goes to Newport, Rhode Island, was named in his honor as a way to recognize his good work around the issues of international relations and facilitative leadership. The Pell Center is run by an amazing scholar, gentleman by the name of Dr. Jim Ludis. Dr. Ludis is a Georgetown PhD who spent a number of years in Washington power circles. He worked for John Kerry when he was in the Senate, dealing with a lot of foreign relations issues. He was on Barack Obama's transition team when he was elected president. He worked for a number of think tanks in the Washington area. Is now the executive director of the Pell Center that does a lot of research in areas like cybersecurity, election security, maritime borders, healthcare administration, things that are really key focal points for society today. And those discussions bring in many different great speakers throughout the course of the year that our undergraduates have access to. So even though we have this great think tank on campus, it is not just a graduate focused environment. It is something that really encompasses the entire campus and everybody gets benefit from. If you want to learn more about Dr. Ludis, I also encourage you to check out his weekly public affairs program that you can see on PBS or listen to on Sirius XM radio called Story in the Public Square, where they talk about the intersection between storytelling and public affairs. And it's a really great example of the type of work that you'll see at Salve Regina. In addition, we really focus here on interdisciplinary education. We want our students to understand that they're just not focusing on one academic area with a broad core curriculum that students participate in as a student. But more importantly, we understand that knowledge does not exist in a vacuum. And so if you're a political science major and you see yourself going down a leadership pathway, you also have to understand science and philosophy and history and English and literature and all of that and art all comes together. And so you'll see both intentional utilization of interdisciplinary education within our majors, as well as very clear defined interdisciplinary majors, things like our programs around, we have programs here around the intersection of politics and environmental studies, for example. And so an integrated department there. Lots of opportunities at Salve for research. This is a place where, because we are a small undergraduate environment of about 2,000 undergraduates, our faculty can really take an active role in mentoring students. And part of that is strongly encouraging students to take advantage of research opportunities alongside faculty. And so what you'll see here is that the vast majority of our students, obviously in the sciences, are doing research, but there's also a lot of research going on in the social sciences and humanities alongside of faculty members. And one of my favorite events on campus every year is there's something called SRU Day, which takes place in the spring, usually, and is an opportunity for our students to come together and share the research that they've been doing with faculty. And so as you walk around campus, students will be set up in different rooms in some cases where they'll be presenting a paper that they wrote for history, or a piece of creative writing that they put together, or perhaps performing a play that they wrote, or performing a piece of music that they wrote. And then you go into Rogers Recreational Center, which is our gym on campus, and there'll be hundreds of poster presentations around the gymnasium where students are showcasing their scientific work. Many times that scientific work is published work, or is work that they've had an opportunity to go and present at conferences alongside their faculty members. And so when our graduates leave here, they have a very strong resume that is focused not just on theoretical practice in the classroom, but on practical experiences combining that intellectual activity in a very meaningful way. Obviously, we also have pre-professional programs here. We're founded in the liberal arts, and our liberal arts is the cornerstone of our curriculum. But we also understand that in today's world, there needs to be that balance with the pre-professional, because many students are looking at college and families, frankly, as that credential that's going to lead to a world of work. And so when you look at our business program, students are receiving a very strong, practically based business curriculum that's going to allow them to get internships that lead into jobs. Programs like our Cultural Historic Preservation program, which is incredibly unique and wonderful, that really intersects things like architecture and art history and planning and historic preservation in a way where students are actually getting in the lab and fabricating, but are also getting out into the world and doing historic restoration. And so great opportunities there for students to develop a resume and a pathway into someplace very, very unique. Some basic stats about the university. You can find these online, obviously, but worth noting. We do have a 13-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio here, so students are getting close relationships with faculty and close mentorship with faculty. That, when you talk to our graduates, that is the hallmark of the Salve educational experience, that they know their faculty know them, and the faculty are encouraging them to go beyond themselves to achieve things that maybe they didn't even think that they could achieve themselves when they came to college. And with an average class of 19, we're very well positioned to provide students a close learning environment, even in this uncertain phase that we're in. We don't have any classes here over 30, so we know that our students are going to be able to be served whether they are in a classroom environment or whether in a virtual environment, because there's not an overwhelming number of students per class. About 2,100 total undergraduates at the university, so it is a small place. We have no intentions to grow because, frankly, our campus won't allow it. We don't have room for more than 2,100. That's about where we should be. We are a place that also offers a number of 5-year programs that we're very excited about. So students in 5 years can earn an MBA, they can earn an ABA, they can earn a graduate degree in cybersecurity, as well as a number of other offerings. And we'll send you all the information about that. Students can apply to those programs either directly in through freshman year admission, or can wait and choose to tack on a year at the end of their studies, deciding in their junior year that that's something that they want to do. And we're seeing a growing number of students taking advantage of that. One, because it's wonderful for them to be able to get that additional credential in an accelerated fashion that is going to save them a lot of money, and two, because frankly, who wants to leave Newport, Rhode Island? So I think a lot of our students also choose to stay so they can stay in town for just a little bit longer and enjoy this amazing location that we have. When we look at Salve, though, I think to me what sets Salve apart is our students. This is an amazing student body. They are amongst the friendliest students I've ever seen in my almost 30 years in higher education. And I've worked at a wide variety of institutions, big, small, public, private, some of the most selective colleges in the country, all the way to open enrollment. I've never seen a student body like this. They are inquisitive. They understand that learning is about the betterment of oneself to better the world for others. So, they are certainly, while all students have some concern about grades, I think what you'll see with our students is they're the type of students that are going into the classroom experience because they legitimately want to learn and want to expand their worldview. They're not just looking at what's the best grade I can get so that I can get the best credentials so that I can be prepared for that graduate school step. Certainly, we have a lot of students that are going on to graduate school. This is a great place for students that are thinking about medical school or any sort of pre-health pathway, veterinary school, et cetera, because of the strength of our sciences and our research. Great place for students that are thinking about law school or thinking about other postgraduate studies, but also a really good place for students that just want to graduate and get a job and start going out in the world. But while they're here, they are really invested in that full collegiate experience, whether that is their involvement in clubs and activities and taking leadership in those areas, whether that's participating in our Navigator Leadership Program, which allows students to explore the structure of leadership within the social change model of leadership development, and thinking about facilitative leadership, whether that's the Noel Appel Scholars Program, which is a great opportunity for students that are interested in getting into the political space to network with our congressional delegation and to network with people down in Washington, D.C., whether that's our Pell Honors Program for our top students that really encourages them to pursue fellowships. But what you're going to find here is just an incredibly friendly, open, committed group of students that are actively engaged in the campus community and will talk ad nauseum when they graduate about the amazing community that Salve is. And so, for your students that are looking for that type of tight-knit environment, they're going to find that here at the university. Curricularly, as I mentioned, we obviously have a core curriculum which extends through our entire educational offerings to make sure that our students have that strong liberal arts founding. But we've also structured the four-year experience in such a way to provide a scaffold for not only intellectual development, but skill development, so that over the course of 4 years, when a student graduates, they're ready for that transition from undergraduate to the quote-unquote real world, because we know that families want that. Families are demanding that of higher education. So we're very intentional about how our content delivery takes place over the course of 4 years so that our students can graduate and be successful graduates. So in year one, what we're really talking about here is what we call our Explore year. This is the opportunity for students to identify a sense of self, who they are, what they want to do. All of our students participate in called a first-year transitions course. I'm actually an instructor of one of the FYT courses, and what we do with FYT is it's a 1 credit that we link with the students' freshman seminar. So those students are together for 2 classes, meeting 4 times a week throughout their entire first semester. So they come in from day one and have a group, that they can share experiences with and grow together. And so, one of my favorite experiences teaching FYT was a couple of years ago. My class was linked with a class on refugee issues, which was very timely given the state of the world and a lot of the issues around refugees. And it was amazing to watch the development of the students over that semester as they shed some of their preconceived notions of what a refugee is or what is informing refugee policy. And through going up to Providence and participating in a roundtable discussion with refugees in a refugee center, to discussions about how they're writing and how they create their ideas and their critiques of refugee policy evolved over the course of the semester was really, really quite amazing. We also, in that FYT program, we begin to have the students complete a skills assessment that allows them to understand what their strengths are. We use something called Strengths Quest, where they can identify those factors that are going to lead to their success over life and how to apply those factors in selecting a major if they haven't selected a major, or changing a major if it's time to do that, or thinking about career. And then we have all the students, when they come in, one of them gets what's called a portfolium account, which is a 4-year opportunity for them to catalog the skills that they're acquiring over the course of 4 years. Think of it as sort of LinkedIn on steroids is what we like to term it as. And it's not just about collecting, I took this class or I participated in this activity, but it's really making them think intentionally about what skill have they developed through that experience, and how is that skill going to help build their resume over time. And so when they leave after 4 years, unlike what many of us experienced, I'm sure, as undergraduates, when you got to senior years, like, oh my gosh, I got to make a resume, what do I do? Now they have all of the meat ready so that they can build that resume and not just build something that is sort of a broad overview of what they've done, but they can really back it up with very specific experiences that they had and very specific learning opportunities that they have that will lead to their success in an organization. We also, throughout the course of this 4-year scaffold, make sure that we're incorporating not just the academics, so obviously their major and their curriculum, not just the student development piece, but also their career development piece with the Strengths Quest, and community engagement and mission integration. So in the first year, they have the opportunity to do service plunge. The second they get to campus, they're doing a service project. They have an opportunity to explore their faith and values and develop an understanding of the mission. And these 4 quadrants are filled throughout the remainder of their 4 years as well. So in year 2, this is the build year. This is the opportunity for them to start thinking less about themselves and more about how they interact with groups. Team building, group collaboration, how to do group projects, opportunity for them to do shadow shifts to understand, what is their focus academically and how that's going to relate to a career. Opportunity to think about team dynamics and facilitation, opportunities to participate in what's called Mercy in Motion on campus, which is one of the student guiding groups that helps determine the interaction of student life with service life within the university. In the 3rd year, this is the engage year. This is really the movement, the strong movement from the theoretical to the practical. So this is where, they're going to have their practicums if they're in a healthcare career pathway, or they're going to have an internship. Many of our students will do 2 or 3 internships as students. Most of our curriculums require internships, but some are looking for a different type of experiential learning opportunity. Some might be around research, or some might be around the development of some form of thesis. And then we also want to think within the student development frame here about their role of becoming active citizens in society, because what we want our graduates to understand is that as recipients of this educational experience, it's not just enough to comment on society's ills. It's important to be able to go out and become an actively engaged mover and to really become a change agent in the world. And so we talk about this idea of active citizenship and how every one of our graduates, whether they want to run for office or they just want to be an active member of their community, can help engage and make the world better. And then senior year, obviously, this is the launch year. This is the year where we're, making sure they're ready to take that next step, whether it's graduate school or it is employment, finalizing resumes, going over their letters of recommendation, and preparing them for the interview process. And this is also where we start thinking beyond local citizenship to thinking about global citizenship, and understanding that we are all citizens of the world, not just of our individual communities. And as we as a society are more and more interconnected, recognizing how we can utilize our work at home to help influence work abroad. So ultimately, hopefully the message that you're receiving here is the message that we try to give students, and that is that higher education is not just about preparing for a job. It's about preparing for success over the course of a lifetime. And we know, as you know, that graduates today from college are going to change careers many, many times, because the career world is going to continue to change. Companies are going to come and go. Technologies are going to come and go. We want to make sure that our students have the foundation necessary to be transformative over the course of their career, and to be able to adapt to a rapidly changing economy and society, so that 20, 30 years down the road, they're not left behind by a rapidly changing world. Obviously, some of this is done through the traditional liberal arts skill set. So our graduates are going to have the critical thinking, the communications, research and analysis, problem solving, and the writing. But we also want to make sure that our graduates have technical proficiency. And so, whether it's understanding how to apply data analytics, whether it is understanding the logic behind the way the web works, why it works the way it does, and how we interact with that. Whether it's understanding cybersecurity, and we want all of our graduates to understand cybersecurity. Global engagement, obviously, as I mentioned, is a big part of this, active citizenship, but ultimately what we term as transformational and facilitated leadership. We want our students to understand that the top-down hierarchical model of the previous century is not really what is the model of today and the future, and that the best work that is happening through facilitative leadership. We want to make sure that our students have those skills when they graduate. Now, I am obliged as an enrollment manager to share with you some of the brag points, because we know that your families are looking for statistics to bolster institutions' claims about how they prepare students for the world. We have great employment rates. 98% of our students are employed or in graduate schools within 6 months. That's real numbers. We track every single one of our graduates and know what they are doing. We have software systems and other things to do that. And so our students are highly successful upon graduation. Money Magazine recognizes one of the top 20 most transformative institutions in the country, and that's something that I really take to heart, because what it talks about is the ability that our university has to bring in students and allow them to not only have a transformative undergraduate experience, but also to fulfill the promise of higher education, which is to do better than the previous generation. And so when you look at our graduates, we have a number of students here, particularly our Pell recipients. Our Pell recipients at Salve actually graduate at a higher rate than our overall student body. And so they are very, very successful because they receive both the financial and the personal support to do so. And that's the type of transformation that we're talking about. Even more important is the fact that our students graduate on time. 93% of our graduates graduate in 4 years. So our students do get the classes they need and the experiences they need to graduate on time. And so as we talk about the value of higher education, I try to hammer home for families time and time again that it's critical, if they're concerned about cost of education, to not just think about the cost per year, but the cost of the degree. And the Salve degree for many students is less expensive than some of their public options because we can get them out on time. We're also ranked highly for surfing, which probably isn't that surprising. We're also ranked, if you're familiar with the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce study, puts us in the top 8% of colleges and universities in the country for lifetime ROI of degree. So that's sort of a brief overview of the university, but before we finish up here, I do want to give you just a quick overview of the application process, what to expect. We're a pretty traditional application process here. We utilize the common application. Obviously, we're looking to have a high school transcript, and for those of you on the school side, we look very, very closely at that profile that you provide us to understand the context of what your school is offering as it relates to the achievement of the student that you're sending. We want to see 2 letters of recommendation. Preferably one is from a school counselor that can provide us, again, that context. The personal statement is important to us. We do read everything. Our application review process here is holistic. And not only is our application review process holistic, it's that application review process informs our scholarship process. So our scholarship process is a little different than maybe some other institutions you've seen, in that there's not a direct correlation between GPA or test score and what we're giving in merit award here. We're giving merit award based on the whole package. Because we firmly believe in bringing students to the university that are going to fit with our mission and are going to fit with the type of leadership and the commitment to making the world a better place that makes Salve works. Note on SAT, ACTs, we've been test optional for a number of years, with the exception of nursing and education. This has been due to criteria set forth for us by our accrediting agencies, as well as our faculty in those areas. Obviously, this year is a flippin' mess with testing. I was just reading an article today about what a disaster ACT testing was yesterday. And so we know that there's serious problems here this year. We are saying recommended for nursing and education this year. Know that we will be highly flexible here. We did a deep dive this summer looking at the last 5 years of data of admitted students to nursing and education to understand what the academic profile of those students look like in correlation to test scores. We have a pretty good idea right now of what's an admissible student with or without test scores for those areas. So while we recommend the student interested, particularly in nursing, submit SAT or ACT scores, we know that that's not going to be a reality for far too many kids this year. And so we have a system in place for that to be test optional. It's visual arts applicants. We do ask for a portfolio. They can submit it through the Common App or through their student status page, which they'll receive. We're a Slate institution. International students, I know there's a number of international counselors here. We do want to see some form of test of English proficiency, TOEFL, IELTS. We also are accepting the Duolingo test, so we're trying to be flexible there as well. In terms of, what a typical student looks like academically, middle 50%, 3.2 to 3.9. We understand that that is an amorphous description because everybody's grading systems are so different. But, a good applicant to Salve is usually a B, B plus and above. Those students do typically well here. Middle 50% ACT composite, 24 to 28, 1100 to 1270, middle 50% SAT scores. We're still above 50% of submission of scores here amongst our students, but that is declining every year. Not surprising given where testing is going, and we expect that number to continue to decline. And again, we're holistic reads, so it's not the end of the world for us. We're really just looking for the right fit. Obviously, we want to see college prep or higher level coursework. We will provide IB credit. We will provide AP credit. And we see a lot more and more students every year coming in with IB and AP credit. But ultimately, what we're looking for is a full applicant. We see most of our students coming in are involved in some way, shape, or form. We see a lot of students that are involved in arts and athletics. We also see a lot of students that are committed to service in some way, shape, or form. We also see, and I think this is really important that I clarify, we also see a lot of students here that maybe are not able to be as involved because they have family commitments. Whether it's childcare or involvement in family business. And we want to know about that too, because we find that those students do very, very well within our community. I do just want to point out our nursing numbers, because obviously nursing admissions have gotten very, very selective nationally. Salve is no different. 3.6 to 4.0 is the middle 50% of our weighted high school GPA. And, you know, we're concerned about making sure the students have strong performance in science and math curriculum. But it's about a 50% admission rate to the nursing program. So it is a highly, highly competitive program. But ultimately, I think what you want to know is, you know, what does a Salve student look like? What are we looking for? What's the student that's going to be successful here? So I would say first, you know, intellectually curious students who really want to understand the world beyond themselves and want to be challenged. That student does well here. We're seeking students who experience higher education as part of a campus community and embrace a shared understanding of our mission and ideals. Hence why we start with the mission and vision statement in all of our presentations and in framing Salve, so people understand that this is a place where those ideals are cherished. More to that point, we look for students that embrace what are called the critical concerns of the Sisters of Mercy. So Earth, that idea of stewardship, issues of immigration and refugees, and the fact that we're a global community, issues of nonviolence, concerns about racism, and concerns about women and their role in society and some of the challenges that women have historically faced. All are concerns of the Sisters of Mercy, and quite frankly, are the great concerns of society today. And so I think, you know, we're in a historical moment where Salve is more important than ever, because we are focused on the real societal issues that need to be addressed for us to continue to move over as a human race. And I think that makes this a really attractive place for a lot of students right now. Ultimately, looking for students that are striving for a world that is harmonious, just, and merciful. So we have a couple minutes, so I can, you know, answer any questions that you have. You can just put them in the chat box. I've got a question here about English proficiency for international students. Do students from English-speaking countries need to submit a TOEFL? No. If English is the primary language, we would not need to see a TOEFL. If English is not the primary language, then yes, it would be helpful. But if you have further questions about that, I strongly encourage you to get in touch with our Director of International Recruitment and Admissions, Ron Beck. Many of you probably know his name. He's really an expert in international admissions fields and really is a great resource for us. So he'll be happy to walk you through that. The admit rate to nursing is about 50%. So that was a question here. What's the admit rate for nursing? What's the plan for opening in the fall? I'm not going to answer that question right now, because we're going to get to that in much more detail tomorrow when you log in for my discussion with Dr. Kelly Armstrong, our president. I'll say briefly that our plan is still to open in person in the fall. As a small campus in a state that has managed this virus well, we feel comfortable in our position to do that, and we've been spending an immense amount of time this summer putting planning together to make sure we can do so safely. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Will students' application be screened for merit without SAT or ACT scores? Absolutely. We've been, like I said, we've been test optional forever. We review for merit based on the information that we have and based on that holistic review. Typical debt for students. The average debt load for a four-year graduate of Salve, the most recent data I saw was $36,000. But that's the federally reported number. It gets more complicated as you're looking into parent personal debt, but you can find all of that information on our IPEDS report. See if there's any other questions here. And I should probably also just check to make sure that we didn't accidentally also set up the Q&A box, but it does not look like we did, which is good. So I didn't miss anything. Specialized services students. Oh, Hannah. Hi, how are you, Hannah? Miss singing. I specialize in serving students who have been suspended, expelled. Can you talk about your review process for students who are disclosing and explaining a disciplinary record? Absolutely. We have a committee that looks at that. I'm part of that committee. I am a firm believer in looking at context and understanding that there is a process and that students make mistakes. And for many of them, it's about owning up to those mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and moving on. You know, I often in discussions am famous for saying that I actually tend to worry less about students I know that have gotten in trouble and have faced consequences for that than the student that hasn't gotten in trouble and is going to come to college and just get in trouble without knowing what the consequences are. So I tend to fight for those students, provided that there is a clear recognition that something has gone wrong, that there has been a plan to really adjudicate that student, that student has gone through some form of restitution, and that student has learned from that experience. Now, obviously, I think like most institutions, we are concerned about health and safety of the entire campus community. And so we always have to be careful of balancing the student need with the community's need, but we do have a process for it. We do have a committee for it. And we tend to be, as a Catholic institution, we know a lot about forgiveness. So we understand that in the process. Okay, last chance for any other questions. Okay, hearing none. Again, my apologies that we can't be together in person. I think everybody understands why, but obviously it's easier to do these sorts of things when we can actually see each other and exchange ideas. But your next session is going to be more of an opportunity for you to see each other and exchange ideas. You're going to be doing a roundtable with some of our really absolutely amazing faculty. I love our faculty here. They are some of the most genuine and giving people I have ever seen on a college and university campus. They are so invested in our students and wanting to help to develop them and to help them to achieve their potential. It's really quite amazing. So what you're going to do is you're going to leave this session, go back into the portal that was sent to you and click on the next session, and you'll be able to get into the roundtable discussion with faculty. Again, thank you all. I hope to see your students' applications to the university, and if I can ever be of assistance to you, by all means, reach out to me either through our website or via Twitter or however way you're most comfortable. Enjoy your day, have a wonderful summer, and we hope to be talking to you all in person sometime soon. Take care.